Welcome, everyone, to Catholic Sunday Scriptures in Context. Today, we are talking about the fourth Sunday in Ordinary Time. January 28th should be 29th, 2023. I guess I didn't edit enough. Zephaniah, the first reading is from the book of the prophet Zephaniah. Seek the Lord, all you humble of the earth, who have observed his law. Seek justice, seek humility. Perhaps you may be sheltered on the day of the Lord's anger. But I will leave as a remnant in your midst a humble and lowly people, who shall take refuge in the name of the Lord, the remnant of Israel. They shall do no wrong and speak no lies, nor shall there be found in their mouths a deceitful tongue. They shall pasture and couch their flocks with none to disturb them. So the prophet Zephaniah, we know exactly when he wrote, which is rare for an Old Testament book. He wrote during the kingship of Josiah, who was the great reformer of the Jewish people. And at this point in time, the Jewish people were henotheistic. They weren't monotheistic. A lot of the Jewish people worshipped other gods as well as Yahweh to sort of hedge their bets. And there was a lot of superstition that was going on. And Zephaniah is saying that worshiping a God other than Yahweh is wrong. And so seek the Lord. And if you seek the Lord, you will also seek justice, and you will seek humility. And the day of the Lord is, as was written in the prophet Amos, will be a day of God's justice coming to the earth, and he will punish those who have not been faithful to him. And he talks about a remnant of the people, those few who will remain, that he's honest that most people are sinners and not faithful, but there are some, and those usually are the poorest of the society, those who are humble and who are lowly and will continue to follow God. And because of their fidelity, they shall be at peace. They shall pasture and couch their flocks with none to disturb them. And so, this is going to set up for our gospel reading, which is the Beatitudes, that it is better to be humble and lowly than to be powerful and rich. So as I mentioned, we know when this was written, the year 640 to 620. The day of the Lord will be one of justice. And when he uses the word humility here, or the humble, he talks about the Anawim. The Anawim they were the poorest of the poor, the ones who God came to save. And when he talks about a remnant, that is an important term in the Old Testament, that not all people are going to be saved, that those who have remained faithful will, and they are the ones who worship Yahweh. Our second reading comes from continuation of Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. Consider your own calling, brothers and sisters. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. Rather, God chose the foolish of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly and despised of the world, those who count for nothing, to reduce to nothing those who are something, so that no human being might boast before God. It is due to him that you are in Christ Jesus, who became for us wisdom from God, as well as righteousness, sanctification, and redemption, so that, as it is written, whoever boasts should boast in the Lord. So, coincidentally, this reading matches the theme of the first reading and the gospel, that it is the lowly, the humble, the foolish, the weak, who are the ones who will be saved by God. And when Paul says you are in Christ Jesus, he means that because of their conversion and their baptism, and because they were the outcast of society. When Paul's writing, Christianity basically appealed to the poor, to the slaves, to the economically oppressed. And it is from them that this great faith is going to arise. And it's because not of anything that you as human beings have done, but whoever boasts should boast in the Lord, because it is God's power that makes us strong. Let's see, Paul is referring to the chapter 9 of the book of the prophet Jeremiah, and that last line is a shortened version of what's in Jeremiah 9:23 through 24. And he talks about glorifying. Usually that's, should be humble and stuff, but if you're glorying and doing it for the right reason, that you're glorifying that you are in the Lord, then you are doing it for the right reason, and go ahead and boast all that you want. Our gospel is the famous passage from Matthew chapter 5. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he had sat down, his disciples came to him. He began to teach them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter every kind of evil against you falsely because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven." So this is Matthew's attempt to show that Jesus is the new Moses, the new lawgiver. Just as Moses went up Mount Sinai, Jesus went up this mount, and he sat down and began to teach them. And what's to be noted here is Matthew's writing right after the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, and the people have experienced loss of loved ones, they've loss of property, and so he talks about them as being poor and poor in spirit, that you know that you need God. And if you know that you need God, yours is the kingdom of heaven. There are only two of these Beatitudes that are written in the present tense, and both involve understanding the kingdom of heaven or experiencing the kingdom of heaven. And when you know that you need God, you are experiencing that. And then that's why he speaks about those who mourn and the meek, because they have lost so much with the destruction of Jerusalem by the Roman armies. And then he also talks about the clean of heart. For the Jewish people, the heart was the center of your being. And if you keep it pure, then you will see God. And the word peacemakers here follows off the word shalom, which is the ultimate serenity, the great joy that comes when you're calm. It's not the absence of war, it's this sort of contentment with your life. And the Beatitudes here are a beginning of three chapters, 5, 6, and 7 in Matthew's Gospel, where he gives his teachings. And this Sermon on the Mount is really a compilation of the sayings of Jesus. And we think that Matthew got many of these from what we eventually call the Q source, a list of sayings of Jesus. And Matthew decided to put them all together in this Sermon on the Mount. So let's see, it's a series of contradictions, things that don't seem to make sense to us, but it's because, when you depend on God, you're going to be successful. When you depend on yourself, not so much. And the word blessed is the Greek word makarios, which also means happy. So there's two different ways to translate that. Please pray for peace in Ukraine. If you think this might be helpful to someone, please pass it on. Thank you very much.